Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome to Life at Scale. We are joined by Stephen Barnham, the Global Chief Digital and Information Officer at Daiichi Life Holdings, and Sam Fromson, the Chief Operating Officer of ULife. Stephen and Sam, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Really a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to be here, Mike.
The last time we did this, you may remember, was virtually. Tell me doing this face-to-face is not 1,000 times better.
Oh, yeah.
Last time we were face-to-face.
Yeah. You two were face-to-face.
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't face-to-face.
But I wasn't there.
He was.
Oh,
he
you
was.
were,
And maybe
you?
my personality
You're
is so big you felt like
That's
I was
probably
there.
what it was.
Maybe,
is that we
maybe.
felt
And the room was
power.
kind of small.
Yeah, the room was
Yeah,
small.
we
big
did
Right?
feel your presence.
maybe the camera was too
Seeing
close.
that goatee in person just makes it all the better.
Exactly.
I must say.
Well, no one really wants to look at this face. Anyway, that was almost 6 months ago. We published that in November of 2023. And I think we actually said to both of you back then, let's take 6 months and follow up, right? And we wanted to extend that conversation and just simply see how things were going with the partnership between ULife and Daiichi Life. So I'll ask you both, how's it going?
I'll leave Stephen to answer that one first.
Go for it, Steve.
So, one word, fantastic.
Awesome.
I would say it exceeded my expectations,
Really?
but my expectations were different. They were, I would say, misplaced in terms of what I thought we were about to enter into. And then as we started to get into the relationship and I fully understood what ULife was about,
Right.
and I realized that it wasn't just an app and much more than an app, that I realized the fantastic opportunity that we had in front of us. And we could only really have done that because we didn't go in with a hard fixed plan. We're going to do this and plan it out for 10 years.
Right.
It was, okay, we'll try this out. And yeah, we'll get it with a few friendly customers. And then let's see where that kind of takes us. And yeah.
I want to get back to that in a second because I do actually think it's really important. But I want to know from your perspective if you noticed a change. In other words, he's telling us right now that when we first did this thing with ULife, we thought it was this kind of thing, whatever it was. And then as we started to work together, I realized, wait a second, it wasn't just that at all. It was much bigger. So in the interactions that you've had, have you found that actually the conversations have changed?
What's been really exciting is that we felt from across the board at Daiichi, we've got a much deeper buy-in, a much deeper understanding of our business. And we'd always felt that there was an incredible opportunity to bring ULife to Japan. The quality of the way people interact with technology here, and people's openness and excitement for new solutions. We felt like the market was ripe for what we had to do.
Right.
And now that we've rolled out and we got the phenomenal engagement with customers,
Right.
and internally within Daiichi, we felt that perception and that perspective shift within the Daiichi exec. And that's been really interesting and really exciting to see.
Right, like your perspective probably hasn't changed that much, but your view on what they thought was going to happen. But isn't this a little bit of a strategy, though, particularly from a startup founder? You're like, in a way, it's like an iceberg. There are all these things you show to people at the top, and you're like, we're just going to show you this, because if we show you everything, in a way, it'll overwhelm you. And if we do that, we won't get anything. Sorry,
I think that's a really accurate description, quite honestly, because when we started off the relationship with Daiichi, we knew that there were certain things that Daiichi were able to grasp or wanted to understand at the first point. But to truly embed ULife within the business would be a longer journey to get everyone really bought into that. And what we've really been excited for over the last 6 months is to see how that's happened.
Right. So do you have meetings sorry to interrupt you because I want to come back to you in 1 second, but do you have meetings internally where like you and the other founders and other senior execs are saying, we thought this was going to happen, and actually it is happening now, and there's a joy inside the fact of like, we found this really great partner and now they're starting to figure it out too? You know what I mean?
I mean, that's pretty accurate description, to be honest. Josh came back from Japan and he's like, I think now they get it.
Right.
And I don't know if that was...
But there's a real learning here. A bunch of them actually. And I want to get back to what you said, right? Because this should not be the first time you interact with a company like YouLife. So you've not just learned about them. I want to know what you did learn about them and how that view changed. I'm super curious. But then I also want to figure out, how does that apply to how you look at other opportunities and think, do I really know what this is about when I'm getting into it? And if I don't, how can I?
Yeah, so where do I start, really?
We'll start with your change in perspective on YouLife.
Sure. So I think when we chatted 6 months ago, I can remember talking a lot about the app.
Yeah.
And how simple it was, how easy it was
How cute it was.
how cute it was.
Right.
And I listened to the podcast recently, and I thought I seem kind of just only talking about the app, which is fine. And it's all true. That hasn't changed. Right. And so we were going to go into some kind of relationship with some customers with this great app experience. And something intuitively told me there was something more than that, just from talking to these, to both of the founders.
Right.
And I thought it can't just be that.
Right.
So I'll go along with it, and let's see how it goes. Now, I don't think everybody necessarily felt that. We have internal apps, we have other well-being things, and there were people who were like, yeah, it's simple, it's cute, and it's easy to use, and it's different. And the questions I was being asked was, is it really that different? So I suppose the penny or the U coin dropped for me.
Well done, by the way.
When I got to know both Josh and Sam much better, and got to know them as people.
Right.
And give you an example. So Josh just spent a few weeks here.
Right.
And we would go out and go for walks when we would talk about the future of insurance and how we were going to reimagine the world. And we were walking past these, I'd never noticed it, these traffic cones. And he said, look at those traffic cones. Look at and there's something on top of them which is perfectly designed to weigh them down.
Yeah.
And I'd never noticed it before. It's a ring.
Yep.
And he said if that ring was not there, all of them would just be blown away.
Blown away.
And he said I've noticed that everywhere where I've walked through this country, and I thought, this guy has such a phenomenal eye for detail. He notices very small things.
He's perceptive, right?
And very perceptive about customer needs. And then I can't remember when it was. I haven't been locked up in a room for so long with Sam as I have with Josh.
Probably good for your sake.
Possibly. But there was one time, I cannot remember when it was. It'd been a long day, a long week, whatever. We have regular interactions, and we had such an interaction. I got onto the call, and I was feeling I'd had a bad week, and I didn't want to do the call. It's at the end of our day. I was going to cancel it. And the first thing I saw was his smiling face.
Yeah.
And he said something, I can't remember what it was. It was something really positive. And he didn't have to say that. And I felt, I feel okay. I want to continue this conversation. And these are very, very small things. And if you see that time and time again, you start to think, these are people we can trust. These are people we can partner with. And to answer your question about, we look at a number of different opportunities, and we are invested, and we have other great partnerships as well. What I have learned, even after all of these many years of doing this sort of thing about it, is you can have a great customer proposition, you can have fantastic, cute technology, all of that. You can have fantastic office, but if you don't gel with the founders,
it doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. And if you don't find a common set of values, so suddenly I thought I can trust these guys, and I'm going to trust a big part of my career at this company, in fact, by going in with them, and I think that was a big thing for me, as simply as I got to know you better, I think, and I haven't talked about the other parts of their business model where the light kind of came on. But one of the major parts was realizing what I probably only felt intuitively in the beginning.
We really appreciate that trust, and we are very excited to be going deeper into the relationship now with that.
What were some of the things that maybe you hadn't explained or you held back a little bit, right? Again, if you either look at it as a as an iceberg or as like a 7-course meal, the appetizer is really good. And then there's, the thing what is amuse-bouche, where you like clean your mouth off, clean your palate so you can enjoy the next thing, yeah? What were some of the things you left off because you knew they were coming anyway, and you knew they'd be, wow, we didn't know that was coming kind of thing?
So I think Stephen alluded to this beautifully, that the first experience of YouLife is through the app.
Sure.
We have an app that rewards you for living a healthier lifestyle,
Yep.
that puts insurance in the palm of someone's hand. And when you first interact with the business, you think, oh, it's a well-being app.
Right.
And that is just the very tip of what we do.
Tell me.
Our driving energy is to create an end-to-end new experience of buying, of understanding the value of insurance.
Okay.
And what I believe that the team now understand is that when we're going out to customers, the entire narrative around the sale is qualitatively and quantitatively different to any other company that's just going out selling insurance for a cheap price.
Tell me how.
So what we're describing insurance has the capability to do is to unlock such deep value for the customer every single day, both in terms of the well-being impact, what that means, what those pain points are that the company experiences, that this entire holistic proposition can solve. And when a company understands, oh my gosh, I can actually have more healthy people being higher performing at work for more of the time, protected should the worst happen, it shifts the entire mindset from how can I haggle for the cheapest insurance price to how can I make sure that I'm getting the maximum possible value. And then if the company's taking a percentage of that value as payment for the services,
so what,
of
right?
course,
Yeah,
that's
of course.
a fair value exchange.
Right. And we say this all the time. In most cases, right, people are not bargaining for the things they really want to buy. Right, and the things that actually impact their lives in a positive way. It's the stuff that doesn't. We're just like, I know I have to do this. I don't want to do it. I don't see as much value in it that they're offering. And I just want to pay 50% or 7% of that. But if I love it, I almost don't care what it costs at some level, right?
And I think what I believe, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, I'd love to hear your perspective on this in a second, Stephen.
Yeah.
What I think we've been able to share with the Daiichi team over the last 6 months is the holistic value proposition of insurance intrinsically linked to well-being and the incredible good that can do for companies.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, we've been selling insurance on and off for 120 years.
Right.
And that's been great as far as it's going. But with changes in customer expectations, different environments, what have you, we need to change how we work. And that's one of the reasons why we partner with companies like YouLife to come up with new business models and help us reimagine the future. So when I first heard it from Josh, and he talked me through exactly what Sam has just so lucidly described, he put it to me this way. He said, you especially to smaller company owners, actually, they don't really want to buy insurance for their staff.
Right.
Some small company owners, and you're talking about 5, 10, 15, even up to 100 employees, they're just about paying the salaries and making ends meet.
Can we also make the case that globally, that SMEs employ something like 60 to 70% of the population?
Lifeblood of an economy.
Of every
Absolutely.
economy, though. It's not even just developing
Absolutely.
economies. The U.S. economy, the German economy, the Japanese economy, SMEs dominate the employment space. So if they're not getting the level of insurance that they want, and you're right, it works both ways. If I feel like my company cares for me enough to give me proper coverage, I'm going to be really loyal. But if the company feels like, why isn't he coming to work? He's saying he's sick or he's this kind of problem. What can I do about it? And if you can get those things to work together, wow.
So exactly. So identify the way YouLife identifies the target market within the target market, target customers, analyzes in the data-driven manner, and works out what is this founder / CEO's problem.
Right.
Not how am I going to flog him some insurance? What's his or hers problem? And then approaches them and says, you've got a 10% turnover problem.
Right.
Yeah, I have. Well, I'm going to help you with that. Anyone is going to want to listen to that because that's a real life problem.
Yeah, because you're not walking in and saying, I want to sell you this thing. I mean, and this is the key, I think, that I've learned about business. When you talk to your prospective customers, the best thing to do is not sell them anything at first. Tell them how you're going to help them. And as a matter of fact, if you just offer them some kind of help, they'll come back to you and go, do you have anything else that can help us? I'll pay for it. I don't care what it is. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, exactly. This is how I'm going to help you.
Right.
If I reduce that turnover level from 10% to 5%, not literally, but how much is that worth to you?
Right.
And just show me a CEO or any business owner who wouldn't be interested in at least continuing the dialogue. And then talking about well-being of your employees. And there's many aspects to well-being. It's not just around an app. The app is one, be it a large one, component of it. And then you talk about protection and how protection can also play a role in that overall well-being to solve your original problem.
Yeah.
And once you've joined the dots up in such an immaculate way as that, it becomes a compelling story. And that's when the Ucoin dropped for me. Because
I love it.
we don't have that. No, very few insurance companies has that way to approach customers.
Can I ask you this, though? Now that you've seen that, now that you've felt it, does it change the way you evaluate other potential partnerships and even other existing partnerships where you think, maybe we can get more out of this and it can have more impact? Do you know what I mean?
Different partnerships are in different sectors, doing different kinds of things. And I'm a little concerned about applying a one kind of a cookie cutter approach to everything.
Just changing a thought process.
Yeah,
right?
I think a thought process in terms of how much, obviously, who the founders are and their personalities would always be important.
Yes.
I think how receptive the founders are to our culture, and I mean that in the fullest sense of the word, is also very important. And both Sam and Josh have been have really embraced both the Japanese culture here, and Sam has enjoyed the shopping, I think, yesterday in Ginza, and I think that is all a very. And so I think how I look at founders will probably change, and I'll spend more time with the founders, and of course poring over the numbers and the business model,
sure,
etc.
For sure. So when we first talked 6 months ago, this had not really kicked off. It was just about to kick off, right? And I remember thinking, as we said earlier, I can't wait till it does. In a way, I'm biased, right? Because I lived and worked in Japan for 22 years, right? My family's Japanese, so I come here a lot, I interact a lot, and I got here when I was young. So there's part of me that feels like a third culture adult. Do you know what I mean? Because I came here when I was 24. So I wasn't even like a fully formed American at some level, yeah? But I'm curious for you, now that you've been here for 6 months, now that Josh has been here, and now that you're here, tell me what you think about how things are going in Japan. And I want to get to engagement after that, so don't cover that yet. But just how this has impacted your thought process about this opportunity and the larger opportunity in this country.
I must say, the more time I spend in Japan,
It's what you want to stay, right?
I absolutely love it. I mean, if my wife is listening, don't worry, we're not moving to Tokyo tomorrow, darling. But I must say, of all of the major cities in the world that I visited,
We're like this.
and I've never felt
Yeah.
the connection or a warmth towards a city so quickly as I have to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And I really feel that there's such a deep level of respectfulness in this culture, a deep level of desire for people to self-improve and to constantly look for opportunities to self-improve. And I found that really refreshing and exciting.
Right.
It's an amazing city, amazing culture, and especially with the team within Daiichi, I felt such deep inquisitiveness and curiosity about how to embrace new opportunities. And maybe that's credit to the work that you've done, Stephen, because maybe it wasn't that way 18 months ago. But it's really been very reinforcing for the potential that we see in this Japanese market.
So what are some of the things, again, just because you've not been here for that long, right, physically, what are some of the things that you've learned besides that relate to business where you think, if I go home and talk to Josh about that, I actually think we can come up with some other things to do that we can then implement?
Yeah, I think the depth of interpersonal relationships here is essential. And
it's everything.
Right.
It really is. It's just everything. Sorry, go ahead.
No, not at all. And you know, so thinking of, for example, and I hope Hosokawa-san won't mind me mentioning this story particularly, but yesterday we were with one of Stephen's colleagues, Hosokawa-san, whose mother, Hosokawa-san, is an incredibly successful and storied Daiichi salesperson.
Oh, great.
And it was just so inspiring to see two generations of people working within the same company, the warmth and the love that she has for her business,
right,
for the clients that she serves, and understanding those pathways through to really, I guess, the front lines of the sales experience, and figuring out how we would map a course to more opportunities like that to build really deep personal human relationships with those who are going to be taking our story out there to the market, and how essential that's going to be for the success of what we're building.
So how do the people internally learn about how they can actually take YouLife and use it for themselves and kind of imbue it in the rest of the sort of life cycle of the products and stuff that they're saying, and the customer journey and all that stuff? How does that work? Like, how do they find out? Do they do training?
Yeah. So I think that was also a bit of test and learn, a lot of test and learn.
Okay.
So we, in a very short period of time, Josh and his technical team converted it to Japanese, and we had it deployed pretty quickly, like weeks.
And the Japanese translations were all good, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, we were tweaking bits and pieces.
Yeah.
There were some amusing things.
There always are.
Yeah.
Test and learn.
It was definitely test and learn.
Like
And so we just threw it out, and I just said, please just start using it, and
Okay.
let's see where it goes from there. And we went through a couple of phases, first with internal staff, and then we actually put it out to real life clients.
Right.
And we were a little bit nervous with that at first, but the clients seemed to be really cool with it. And I think one of the biggest turning points came, I mean, I'm from technology. I've worked with startups and founders for a long time. You could say, okay, I'm kind of used to it to a certain extent.
Right.
But some of the executives here come from a long tradition of life insurance, and the way they have opened their minds up, the head of our group business, and getting his support.
It's kind of cool.
That's really cool. And that's where I think there is huge opportunity for us with with leaders that are so forward-looking as that.
And the next stage of this adventure is going to be taking a select cohort of salespeople, of RMs, of people who are out there, really building relationships with customers and training them to be living, breathing ambassadors of the YouLife brand, to take this out to their customers. And that's really the next phase rollout that we're really excited to be stepping into. And really embedding it in the customer lifecycle.
Actually, I just wanted to follow on
Please.
from that, because we talked about trust. Trust is two-way, and they have trusted us with their know-how as well. This is their secret sauce, and this is what a partnership is about. It's about building new businesses. It's about learning new things and new ways of working, and teaching a 120-year-old life insurance company how to sell life
Pretty
insurance.
simple, right? There's no roadblocks
That's
along the
easy.
way. Sure.
I mean, it's into some white space segments where we haven't got a fully developed business, the SME segment. So, okay, some of it's new, but still. So when you think of that, and so you've trusted us, and we've trusted you as well. And I think that's the tipping point. And it's very difficult to go into a relationship just purely on a financial basis and hope to get something out of it.
So I just want to make a comment on this. I say this a lot, right? I think that these types of relationships are no different than dating, right? When you sit down and start dating somebody, you never just bring out like your favorite puzzle, right, of dragons and stuff. You're just like, I hope you enjoy this dinner. It's very nice and all this other stuff. But below that, there's all these little nuances and things you want to share later. And then, just before you get married or whatever it is that type of relationship you're in, you're like, did I show you my dragon puzzle kind of
I was
thing?
wondering where you were going with that. Like, I don't bring out my...
No, but you know what I mean? Because that type of thing doesn't come out at the beginning, but it's still you, right? And again, it's part of the company in this case. I can't stop thinking about the part of the conversation we had last time with the competition and the Olympics and the coins and stuff like that. And I want to give you a little context on this one. When I was at Morgan Stanley, my boss at the time, Yuji Ota, was a graduate of Waseda University, very proud of it, and he was on their running team. Why do I mention that? Japanese love running, and every year they do something called Ekiden. They're very competitive. The colleges compete against each other. They run from central Tokyo to, what's the name of the lake? Ashinoko. And at the end, it's very deeply uphill and then downhill to the lake. And then they run back the next day. And their teams only have 6 people on it. It's 120 kilometers there and 120 kilometers back. Anyway, very competitive. And I can't stop thinking about the fact that they'll self-organize. Because when we were at Morgan Stanley, we did our own private Ekiden. And then we did it against Lehman Brothers and against Merrill Lynch. And then we had 5 teams going, right? So we self-organized the whole thing. Can you see that happening? Because one of the things we talked about was these competitions, right? And getting people to do things and engage and stuff like that. Do you see that happening here?
Very much so. But the thing I would point out, the key difference is that if you've got 6 or 10 or 12 people competing in a 120-kilometer race, that's amazing. And
yeah, but we did 20 people because at the firm, we
20
didn't do
people.
that. At the college, they did to show off. But yeah, at the firm, we did 20 people.
Of course. But I've got so much admiration for that, and that's really amazing. But what I'm really excited about with what we're bringing is the other 1,000 people who look at those 20 people like they're nutters.
Yeah.
Okay. And in any business, you'll have the 20 people who are going to be like, great, we're going to do a relay race to the Ashinoko on back. And that's like wonderful. And I'd probably be one of those people. You guys would be one of those people.
Right.
But what we're seeking to bring is something for the other 1,000 people in the organization.
Right.
And how to get those 1,000 people on their journey of health and well-being in an easy, engaged way.
But that's my point, is that it doesn't, I use that as an example. It's just a metaphor for this idea that Japanese people will self-organize around the activity that maybe they're doing themselves, but would like to do with other people, and then will invite other people in to do it. And if that gives them the mechanism to do it, well, then you're halfway there. Sorry.
Can I just, sorry, I just have to go back to the Ekiden type example. So the team approached me and they said, we want to do a challenge Steve Day. And I said,
this is the Daiichi Life
this
team,
is Daiichi Life via the ULife platform.
Right.
So I said, oh, fine. I'm up for it. It has to be a weekend because during the week it'll be a little difficult. And it's actually a step count challenge, really. So I thought, oh, this will be a lot of fun. And you start to get the challenges start to come in the day before. I think we got up to about 150. And so it's a lot of people. I don't do anything by halves. Yeah. So right, that's it. Didn't go out the previous night. Went to bed early. Crack of dawn. As soon as the sun was up, I went out and knocked out a quick 15K. Right. Came back, took some rest, and then. I didn't take any public transport that day at all. I just walked everywhere. And what you're doing is you're clicking in and checking where people are.
I love that.
And some people don't because they like hang on till the end because they don't want to reveal their hand.
So they don't publish it.
So you don't publish it.
Well, I think it probably was if you don't log into the app. Yes, because if technically what we've done is to make sure that it's not draining your battery until you log into the app. That's when it syncs to your step count. For the day.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That's right. So I went through the day. I'm a bit of a bizarre type of person, which is kind of competitions. It's made. I
feel like getting up right now and going out and walking.
Exactly. So I got like 31,000. I thought that felt like a winning number for me. And my staff was going, yeah, you can get top 10. I don't want top 10.
Right.
Yeah. So it was sinking there. And by the way, it's people bet Ucoin against you. So they had. So I said, look, my wallet, I won't have enough Ucoin because if I have to pay out. So they funded me like 50K Ucoin.
Still a secret Ucoin under the table.
Yeah,
okay, I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, they did a virtual brown paper bag. So
bag man.
Monday ticked around and everyone clocked in. And yeah, I was okay. I was in the top 5. I was in the top 5.
Was it just one day?
It was one day.
Okay.
So there were 4 people more than me. And I found there was this one guy.
Hosokawa-san's mother.
50,000 steps in one day.
That's basically a marathon. 50,000 steps.
We just went and ran a marathon.
It is a marathon
competition. And so it was a really fun day, and it got us competing with each other. But the end of the fun doesn't end there. So I travel around our company. I go to different offices. The other day, I was in our Kyoto office for some reason. I'm walking through the office, and someone comes up to me and says, how did you do 35,000 steps in one day? I said, sorry, who are you? I'm so-and-so. And people don't have to put their real names. They can put nicknames and things. I'm the wizard or whatever. Oh, you're that. Yeah, I was chasing you all day. And then around here in the corridor, people will come up to me and say, wow, you're that serious, eh? I was sure 15,000 would do it. And just in that one event, you can see the dialogue and the engagement. Very simple, just who walks the most. Very easy to understand.
And that was the point I was going to make, is that it's not just about the competition. It's about the engagement that it gets.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also think about this too. Without the app, organizing that type of thing and creating that level of, I can talk to the global digital officer, right? Or I can talk to the CEO, because we just did the same thing. But organizing it, if it was just through email or through this thing or the other thing, impossible. Really impossible. And this is the thing you talked about before of like, it's not just how to sell insurance. It's this holistic way of dealing with each other as well. Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, not at all. And it's just lovely to hear those stories of, we did the same thing with Sammy and our CEO, and he got trounced, I think. So you're definitely a more formidable opponent. But it's really been inspiring for us to see how bit by bit, the cultural opportunities, I wouldn't say cultural change, but maybe the more deeper connectivity that can exist between people that we know ULife can facilitate. And as the Daiichi team have really realized, not just an app, not just a piece of tech, the vanguard of an entire well-being experience in a business.
So we went walking yesterday in Tokyo, okay? And because I had to do a few more things.
Wasn't it pelting down with rain yesterday?
Was it yesterday? Or the day before? The day before, 2 days ago. So yeah, yesterday was pelting down with rain. And no, I was not out. But the day before, I had to wake up early and do some stuff. So I went for a little bit of walk to do it because I always want to walk rather than do anything else. And I wear an Apple Watch, so I was measuring my steps. I don't have the app yet, but there's a way to get it going. I just wanted to talk about the competitiveness. And at the end of the day, the two of us were literally like looking at our phone going, I'm 21,000. He was like, I'm 20,850. I'm like, it's still a win. Right? So, but if you scale that up, right, into bigger interactions and bigger opportunities at big companies, right, fundamentally it changes the way people interact with each other. Go ahead.
Very much so. And I think what's really exciting, and I think the Daiichi guys, again, maybe over the last 6 months, in terms of you're thinking that's still topic of what has changed the understanding.
Yes.
It's how to see that value exchange and the data that then sits behind it, and what that really means.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because, if you want to really understand people on a deeper level from a risk insurance underwriting perspective,
right,
building that holistic picture of health and well-being is essential. But the only way you have the right to do that is if first you're giving value.
Exactly.
And if you're giving value to each individual employee, each individual business unit, and by bringing them that well-being experience, that value, that allows you to then have the right to exchange for the data, which is able to really create the future of underwriting and the future of insurance as we know it needs to become.
Okay, I'm going to stop there because that was an amazing way to end and completely unscripted. I loved that. I loved this conversation. We have to do more of it. And having that follow-up that we talked about 6 months ago, this was perfect for that. Sam Fromson, Stephen Barnham, thank you so much for doing this today.
Really a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Pleasure.
Have a great day.
You.